Have you ever wondered what makes the porcupine one of the most fascinating and mysterious animals in the animal kingdom? Well, get ready, because today we are going to explore the life of this small but intriguing creature that hides much more than it seems. We'll dive into the world of porcupines and discover what it really means to be such a peculiar animal. They may appear as just a little creature covered in spines, but there are secrets and abilities that make these animals truly unique and impressive. Many people think that the porcupine is aggressive and always ready to attack, but is that idea true? Before answering, we need to better understand what these spines really are and how they work. Contrary to what many believe, the spines are not thrown by the animal. They are modified structures made of keratin, the same substance that makes up our hair and nails. But instead of being soft, the porcupine spines are rigid, sharp, and perfectly designed for defense. You might be wondering, so how do these spines work? When the porcupine feels threatened, it uses a clever tactic. As a predator approaches, it stiffens the skin muscles, causing its spines to stand up. At that moment, it looks like a true ball of needles. Any animal that tries to bite or touch the porcupine ends up with several spines embedded in them. This creates a painful memory, teaching predators not to risk it again. But what many don't know is that the porcupine doesn't use its spines as its first line of defense. They are more peaceful creatures and prefer to avoid confrontations whenever possible. In fact, they only resort to their spines as a last resort. Usually, when they sense a predator, their first reaction is to make alert sounds, like grunts or whistles, in an attempt to scare off the enemy and avoid any confrontation. Now, imagine being in an extreme danger situation with nowhere to run, knowing you have a secret weapon. Well, this is exactly how the porcupine acts. The spines are not only sharp, but they have a structure that makes them easy to embed into the attacker's body, making removal difficult. If a predator ignores the warning sounds and tries to attack, it ends up leaving the fight with spines stuck in its skin, often causing wounds that can become infected or even fatal for the aggressor. Here's a fun fact that few people know. The porcupine's spines grow continuously throughout its life. This means that if it loses a spine, another will begin to grow in its place, ensuring that the animal is always well equipped to defend itself. It's as if it has a constantly renewing arsenal of defense, ready for any emergency. But believe it or not, there's much more to a porcupine's life beyond defense. They are nocturnal creatures, meaning most of their activities take place at night. During this time, they go in search of food. Their diet is quite varied, including leaves, roots, fruits, and tree bark. That's right, they are not carnivores. The porcupine is a herbivore, adapted to feed on the plant resources it finds throughout its territory. When it comes to behavior, another interesting point is their climbing ability. Many porcupines are excellent climbers, using their claws and strength in their paws to grasp branches. In some areas, they even take shelter in trees, creating nests where they spend most of the day resting. This climbing ability is crucial for avoiding predators that can't reach them. So, how does the porcupine see the world? Its vision is quite limited, especially in daylight, but it compensates for this with an extremely sharp sense of smell. Its senses are highly developed to help it identify food sources and detect potential threats, even in the dark. So, even with limited vision, the porcupine is capable of adapting to its environment and surviving in adverse situations. For those who believe the porcupine is a solitary animal, the truth is that it tends to live quite independently. They don't form large groups and, for the most part, prefer to stay away from others of the same species. This solitary nature also helps reduce the risk of unwanted encounters with predators. However, during the breeding season, the porcupine looks for a mate and engages in a curious and careful behavior. Porcupine reproduction is a cautious event. As you might imagine, the process requires patience since both animals have spines. However, they have a special way of avoiding accidents, and during mating, the male and female display delicate behavior, avoiding direct contact with the spines. After a gestation period of 3 to 4 months, the babies are born, and curiously, they come into the world with soft spines. These spines harden in the first few hours after birth, ensuring the little ones are protected right from the start. These babies spend some time with their mother, learning how to forage and defend themselves, until they are ready to venture out on their own. Even so, they are fast learners, and within a few months, they can fend for themselves. Another interesting aspect of the porcupine is its longevity. They can live for over 10 years in the wild, a considerable amount of time for an animal of their size. This is partly due to their defense strategies, and the fact that few predators dare to face them after the first attempt. Did you know that in some cultures, the porcupine is seen as a symbol of protection and security? This is because it represents the idea of being prepared to defend against external threats, remaining strong and resilient even in the face of difficulties. And this is an interesting analogy because the porcupine truly teaches us about the importance of defense and resilience. But there's also a curious side. In some places, its spines are collected by humans for decorative purposes and even for rituals. Of course, in many cases, this is done without harming the animal, but it shows how porcupines are respected and admired in various cultures around the world. As we explore every detail about porcupines, it's clear that they are much more than just balls of spines. They are complex animals with behaviors, skills, and characteristics that make them unique and highly adaptable. And perhaps the most important lesson they teach us is about adaptation, caution, and the ability to protect oneself in an ingenious way. So, the next time you think about the porcupine, remember that it is much more than it seems. It's a true walking fortress, showing us the value of being prepared and respecting the boundaries that each being imposes. These little warriors of nature invite us to reflect on the importance of protecting ourselves without losing gentleness and respect for others.